To another Blue Jay Center interview. My name is Robert Pantelimon, joined here by now two-time Blue Jay Aaron Sanchez. Aaron, so good to see you wearing the Blue Jays blue again, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So just talk a little bit about the transaction. Was that as simple as your agent just calling you and saying, hey, Jays need some starting pitching help in their AAA team and you want to run it back? Was that simple?
No, it's actually way different than that. I had spoke with Ross in the offseason last year on some just questions that I had in terms of the game and kind of what I needed to do to set myself up to put myself in the best position to be back in the big leagues where I wanted to be. And it came up of like throwing in the pitching lab down in Dunedin, and I had some things in spring training, like nothing that I was eager to jump off the couch for. Knowing that pitching's a commodity and knowing that guys are going to get hurt eventually throughout the year, I just needed to stay working out, stay on my stuff. And I did that, and camp ended, AAA broke, big leagues broke, and I was like, all right, I need to start playing soon. And he offered to throw in the lab in August, and I hit him up on the offer, you know, just to make sure that I can get some credible numbers from the industry out to show teams kind of where I was at and what I was doing, and that's kind of how it came about. It's
pretty crazy. When you signed, it's been already 5 years since you were traded from the Blue Jays. In that time, you've got to pitch for Astros team that went on and win the pennant. You got to pitch for a Giants team that I think won, 106, 107 games that year? Mm-hmm. What was your highlight of the last 5 years since we last saw you?
I mean, that right there, being on some really good quality teams, having the opportunity when I left here to be on a team that was the favorite to win the World Series. Obviously, I didn't play in 2020. 2020, I had the opportunity to go to San Francisco, and it was kind of like they weren't expected to, you know, like we had a good team, you know, it was Buster Posey's last year. There was a lot of good quality players in the clubhouse, and we were kind of written off, you know. That year we weren't really supposed to do much in the West, and in spring training you could just feel the vibe of the team, and obviously ended up doing that and beating LA for the first time, and I don't know, they had like eight consecutive NOS titles up to that point, so that was pretty cool. You know, pitching in DC was a lot of fun. Pitching in Minnesota was a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it since I've been here, but obviously the goal is to get back to the big leagues.
Absolutely. We'll talk about like back when you got drafted in 2010. That's almost a decade and a half now. Yeah. What was that like? What was your drafting like? Did you know anything about the Blue Jays before you got drafted?
Yeah, I actually took a pre-draft workout in Toronto. They were like probably one of three teams that I actually went to their stadium and showed face. They had a lot of picks that year in the first like four rounds. I think like 8 picks. So my thing was just like, all right, they got a lot of picks. Let's just put my eyes in front of them and see, you know, let them see who I am, let them get to know me face to face, talk person to person. And so I got to go up to Toronto in 2010. We got to go to a game against Baltimore, and I remember sitting in left field. This is before all the new renovations, and me and my dad were just kind of sitting there like, man, what would this place look like if it was packed? You know, it was like that was kind of always been the dream from that point. It was like, okay, let's get here and let's do our best to get this thing. And sure enough, 5 years later, coming out for ALDS, and you got all those white flags going in circles. You stand up out there and you just kind of like take a peek around the whole stadium. It gave you chills. So it was definitely a dream come true, obviously, with my time here from 10 to 19. So I don't, yeah.
That was actually my next question. Obviously, Game 5 ALDS against the Rangers. You were on the mound for that controversial play, Russell Martin throwing the ball off since you choose bat. Fans go crazy, and then obviously, we can honestly have like about a 30-minute combo just on that inning itself. Yeah. But just describe the experience. You pitching top half of the inning and then seeing Jose go deep in the bottom half. What was that like?
Yeah, it was. I know, like when we were on the mound and the craziness that was going on in the stands with everybody throwing everything around, like. I had maybe like 2, 3, and 4, 3, 4, and 5 coming up after all that controversy. It was like 27 or 28 minute delay, and you know I had like umpires coming up and talking to me, players coming up and talking to me, and like the only thing that I was trying to focus on was like staying in the moment. You know, like I knew that I had to keep the game where it was at, because something after that could, you know, we could be down 3 runs in a matter of seconds. So I was doing my best to just stay focused. Anytime someone came around, I'm like, yo, just give me space, give me space. And we got out of the inning. I was a little pissed, and I think, like, if I'm being completely honest, I told myself if I could tag with the L from a ball coming off somebody's bat, like, that's gonna be a hard pill to swallow, you know. And not even 5 minutes later, Jose cranks one down left, and if you look at that picture, I was the first one out of the dugout, and I had like 2 hands up in the air because like I knew we went from probably one of the most crushing moments in Toronto sports to one of the happiest moments in Toronto sports in a matter of seconds. And again, too, right? Like, I knew I was going back out to pitch the 8th, so it's like, all right, I can enjoy this moment for as much and as long as I can, and then I got to get right back in the zone to know, hey, now I really got to go win the game. You got the opportunity to go win it, now go win it. And so it was definitely a crazy change of events through, I guess you could say, that hour of whatever that was, craziness. So I'm just glad that we came out with that win, because I think that city would have burnt up.
I think if you saw Russ, he was just doing the prayer sign after that, because he was the one who threw the ball off the bat. That was pretty cool. Well, fast forward a bit to 2016. You look at your 2016 season, if someone just looks at the box score, they'll think, wow, what a neat and tidy great season. For those of us who were there, that season was just mired in controversy of whether Aaron Sanchez would be moved to the pen to protect his arm, protect his innings limit. Was it difficult to pitch to all the noise, or would you say you did a good job of putting it aside, just going out there and performing?
I feel like I channeled that just into more motivation. You know, like it was all up to me. If I didn't meet the criteria, then I was probably going to get pushed to the bullpen. If I handled business the way I needed to handle business, I would at least have a conversation on the topic of doing what was best for me in my career. And thankful to the front office for allowing me to voice my opinions and really talk through that situation, because starting pitching is something that I've always wanted to do. And you know, obviously I know from the year before I only threw 90 innings, and I finished that year at 205 innings, and that's a huge jump in innings pitched. But I put the work in the off season. During the year, I showed that I was healthy enough to take on that workload. So I was just fortunate and thankful enough that we ended up being able to talk through that situation, and it all worked out for everyone.
Absolutely. That season, I want you to touch on the All-Star appearance. I know it was in 2016 in San Diego. You had a lot of your teammates there. You being a SoCal kid, I know Barstow, where you're from, not exactly a quick pit stop from San Diego, but I'd imagine still pretty accessible for your friends and family to see you pitch.
Yeah, it was such a cool experience for me. Off the rip, I didn't make the team, so I was kind of disappointed. You know, I don't even know what my numbers were at the time. You would have to check that, because I think they were pretty good. And I remember we were out on Lake Ontario with some of my friends before the game, and I found out Corey Kluber took the last spot, and my numbers were way better than him. And I was like, all right, well, I'm, you know, first year as a starting pitcher. He's 2-time Cy Young Award winner. I can't be too upset with that. And then Craig Kimbrell got hurt. And a funny story, and not a lot of people know this, so you guys can break this news, and which was pretty cool. I showed up in San Diego, and obviously whoever wins the AL pennant from the year before are the managers and the coaches for the All-Star game the next year. And it was all the staff from the Royals. And it was July 9th, and we had a day game in Toronto. And I think we were one of the only games that was on TV. And when I got there, the coaching staff pulled me aside, and it was Ned Yost, and he goes, hey, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I'm like, okay, let's hear it. He goes, you know how you made this team? And I go, I would love to know. And he goes, you started the game against Detroit, and you punched out, I was like Kinsler, Maben, and Miguel Cabrera to start the game. I don't know who was first and who was second. I know Miggy was third. And I ended up striking out the first guy. And he looks at his coaching staff, and he says, if he strikes out this guy, he makes the team. I ended up striking out the second guy, and he goes, okay, for real, if he punches out this guy, I'm making a phone call. And he said the moment I struck out Miguel Cabrera, he said he picked up the phone and called, and ironically, I think those were the only 3 strikeouts I had all game, so there was definitely something, you know, it was definitely a blessing, you know, from in the skies of that. I was meant to be on that All-Star team, so that's a cool story. Yeah, it was a cool story to share with the fans that not a lot of people know. And then on that, like, I didn't think I was going to pitch, so I had no intentions on pitching until I think I found out like the day of that I had that inning. So just a great, cool experience. I had pitched recently from, like, I think I threw the Sunday before we had the All-Star break, so I wasn't really as fresh as I would like to be, but just having that experience and being around the best of the best in the game was pretty cool.
I'm sure it was. Yeah. 2016, obviously we all know the playoff moments, Edwin's home run, Donaldson's dash. That doesn't happen if you don't go into Boston game 162 and just shove against an elite Red Sox lineup. 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, and it basically was a do-or-die game. You guys were really slipping there near the end, but you obviously punched their ticket in with that performance. Would you say to this point that's the most clutch performance of your career?
Oof, I don't know. That was pretty. That's one of the top. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just like, I could just remember back then, like, you as a little boy on TV, you know, like everybody's last home game of the season, they go like 2 for 4, hit 2 homers, and everybody's like, oh, why is he retiring? And it was Big Papi's last day. So my whole mindset going into that game was just like, hey, I don't care if I get shelled by everybody else, but Big Papi is not going to do nothing against me today. So I was just totally focused on, you know, the year before we made it to playoffs. I knew what that feeling's like. We played the game to make it to that point. It was all on me, and I was so prepared to make that start that I had such a great defense behind me. I had such a explosive offense that I knew if I just did my part, my guys would pick me up. And I was fortunate enough, like you said, I think I had a no-hitter through like 6 1/3 or 6 2/3, and I still will tell you to this day that foul ball, or that home run, was not a home run, it was a foul ball.
Well, I remember that. I can't remember who hit it again. I can't remember.
Ramirez, yeah.
All right, last question, Aaron, more of a fun one.
Okay.
We got to, as Blue Jays fans, we got to see a little bit of backstory, your family life. We know how much both your parents meant to you, your upbringing, your decision to play. Today's Mother's Day. You guys are ready to take the field out in just over an hour. Any message you want to pass on to your mom specifically before you guys take the field?
My mom's actually here, so I got to tell my mom everything I needed to say this morning, but she knows how I feel about her. Happy Mother's Day, not to just to my mother and not just to my wife, but to every mother and every other player's wife that takes the field. The hard work that goes on in our life, in this crazy life, I could say, is not easy. So we definitely appreciate it from our side, to making sure you guys hold the house down.
Very well said, Aaron. Thank you so much again for doing this. As Blue Jays fans, we all love to romanticize those 2015, 2016 teams. You obviously were an integral part of them. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.